introduction of the tax comes at a time when the car industry is already feeling the pinch, following the depreciation of the Australian dollar and the changeover to unleaded petrol vehicles. The fringe benefits tax hits employer-provided cars, a common perk which many companies may now be forced to rethink. One of Newcastle's biggest car dealers is Ken Delforce. He says the tax has affected buyer confidence.
Consumer confidence is down about 25% on our total volume, yeah.
Now you're actually expanding at the moment. You're taking on the Nissan franchise, so business can't be that bad.
Well, it's not good, Helen, but we've always, for the last 20 years, we've kept expanding because you do get good times and you do get bad times, so we keep expanding anyway.
Rod Williamson of Newcastle City Toyota, however, says it's a case of survival of the fittest and that
against the wall as a result of the tax
will soon recover.
I think it'll be very difficult, and everyone has to really work at keeping in business today. It's not the easy road that probably was around some years ago, but I think most successful dealers will remain in the business. We've just got to watch day to day and move with the market, and if the market's moving a certain way, you've got to adapt your business to go with it.
Considered to be the most advanced coal-fired generating plant in the world. The construction contract could be worth $500 million, including a $7 billion contract to supply coal over the next 20 years. Since its completion, Eraring has attracted interest from overseas governments wanting to construct similar plants. 40 delegations have visited Eraring so far, including an Egyptian representation interested in constructing a power station at Zafarana on the Gulf of Suez. Those talks involving the state government are almost completed. Strong possibility New South Wales may win the $500 million contract. That would also mean the supply over a 20-year period of $7 billion worth of coal.
The budget papers presented to councillors at today's meeting gave a mixed picture of the authority's financial health. While the SCC faces a massive deficit over the next 12 months, the council's officer stated that everything is being done to cut costs. The operating deficit will reach more than $11 million by the end of December and will rise to just over $14 million by the end of the financial year. Chairman Councillor John Jobling says the shortfall is mainly due to the state government imposing limits on electricity price increases.
Mark, we've simply got a $14 million deficit because we're restricted in what we can charge to the consumer. The Commissioners control our tariffs, and the bulk of our costs are from the Electricity Commission, who take 66 to 70% of every dollar that we charge to pay for them for power.
County Clerk Warren Elliott says cost-cutting measures have made the authority lean and efficient, and says the house cleaning will continue for at least another 2 years. In the budget, the SCC plans to reduce staff by another 65 through natural wastage. However, the SCC says that as a result of its efficiency, it is indirectly subsidising the Illawarra and Prospect County Councils. Councillor Jobling says that those councils are receiving millions of dollars in rural rate subsidies
and it's helping
from the
other
government.
councils out. It's designed to go to rural line subsidy, not to the big four councils. It was never designed for that. It shouldn't be there. The thing I'm concerned about, if we can do it and we can control our prices and produce a profit or very close to it at the end of the year, why can't they? Why should we be paying money to help them out? What are they doing that's wrong? Where are their inefficiencies? We're entitled to know, and we're going to find this out.
The council resolved to take its case to the Energy Minister Peter Cox, but privately no one believes the SCC will have much luck.
Hello, I'm Helen Hughes. It's tax time again, and in tonight's news I'll have a report on the different penalties that can be incurred for failing to lodge your return or for giving false information. Both offences, in extreme cases, carry a $5,000 fine and 12 months jail.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
In the Hunter, skirmish has been attracting between 20 and 30 people every weekend. To play, you must join the club and be subject to quite strict safety and umpiring conditions. A small air rifle is used, which fires pellets of gelatine-covered yellow vegetable dye. The guns were brought in from Queensland, and it's this that has caused the problem. Under our state's Firearms and Dangerous Weapons Act of 1973, these guns are classified as prohibited weapons. On their own, either the pellets or the gun would probably be allowed, but together they're the combination that mean this particular game here in New South Wales is over.
This is the ridiculous part of the law. In actual fact, if we were to load a rubber bullet or a pellet in the gun and made it so it could shoot it, I'm not saying that it can, but if it could shoot it, then we would have a valid reason for licensing the gun, and then that would make it a dangerous weapon.
But Garth and Wade Young plan to fight for an exemption to the law which will allow the game to continue to be played in New South Wales.
We have got Skirmish International on our side. They have written to the Firearms Registry Sergeant Burwood and to the Minister applying for a permit for the game to be played. We have got all our members sending letters to the same Minister asking why the game can't be played. We have our legal people on to that same Minister again, asking why and on what grounds do they base our weapons as dangerous.
It was the stuff dreams are made of. Two old-style sailing boats heading out on a voyage to nowhere in particular, just where the mood takes you. The sight of the two ketches would be enough to make any romantic's mind wander as they left the harbour under full sail. The boats, skippered by Lindsay Smith and Craig Flanagan, are both from the lake, but if the skippers have their way, it'll be anywhere up to 5 years before they return there. Each boat has a crew of 4, and they plan to sail the Pacific and wherever else they fancy. Both crews are funding the journeys themselves, and it's hard to imagine that it'll be anything but a bon voyage.
From October, individual hospital boards will be disbanded and all medical services in Newcastle will be placed under the control of the Greater Newcastle Area Health Service. This will include the Royal Newcastle Hospital, Belmont, Rankin Park, Wallsend District, Western Suburbs and William Lyne Aged Care Complex, Nelson Bay Polyclinic and the new teaching hospital at Rankin Park. The Mater Hospital and St Joseph's Home will coordinate with the service but will not be under their direct control. Mr Collins says it's ridiculous to think that one board will be able to administer all the hospitals effectively.
Area health boards, and there's one proposed for the Hunter region, will not add a single hospital bed to this region, and I believe that they will simply add another layer of bureaucracy. They will dismantle all of the loyalty and tradition that's been built up around individual hospitals, and I think it's another opportunity for this government to politicise the health system in New South Wales.
Mr Collins said the area health board set up by the state government will duplicate the functions of the regional health office, and the competition between the two will be detrimental to health care in Newcastle. But what could a coalition government offer the Hunter?
For a start, we would stop politicising the health system.
Mr Collins, that's very easy to say while you're in opposition.
It is, but I think that over the last few years we've really seen health emerge as a major issue, and that for the Greiner government, health will prove to be the issue that transport was to the election of the Rand government back in 1976.
Bus drivers, mechanics, inspectors and paper pushers from head office all donned running shoes and limbered up for the 9.5 kilometre course. First over the starting line was a Waverley man who has undergone 2 heart bypass operations. Inspirational enough, but then came 65-year-old Ralph Dubois, who despite his years managed to hold his position until halfway through the course. While most managed a strong sprint in the early stages, it was the long, slow haul up the western side of Scenic Drive which separated the field. A police escort and flagmen controlled the traffic and directed the runners along the course. From here it was a downward gallop to Bar Beach and a chance to restore some strength for the sprint along Memorial Drive and Parkway Avenue to home. Ian Burse, a motor mechanic from the Port Botany depot, was first over the finishing line with a time of 31 minutes and 1 second. Runners from the Waverley depot came in second and third. Local favourite Alan McCloskey, a driver from Mayfield, came in 13th, a little too late to pull up his socks.
185 hectares of this land will be handed over by the Hunter District Water Board as their contribution to the reserve. But this won't happen overnight, as the Minister for Water Resources Janice Crozio explained.
I would like to see everything completed by the end of the year. That is not practical, nor do we realistically realise that can be done. But certainly, it'll take possibly a number of years.
The Water Board says it's taking measures to see that the land will remain in prime condition, and a committee headed by member for Charlestown Richard Face will oversee the activities carried out by the board on the site. The land has also been declared a restricted area under the Recreation Vehicles Act, which bans the use of trail bikes and four-wheel drive vehicles. The Minister's visit to Newcastle was twofold. Mrs Crozio also launched an $80,000 advertising campaign promoting the Water Board's activities in the region. Known as Waterline, the campaign is aimed at increasing public awareness of the service available at the 7 regional offices established over the past 3 years throughout the Hunter region.
What we want to do efficiently to provide a service to the people out there so that they not only know about that service but they utilise that service.
The amalgamation vote will involve more than 11,000 metal industry workers in the Hunter. Only last week, ACTU President Simon Crean supported union mergers, saying it's in line with the increasing size of both business and government. The ASE has only 600 members in the region, and although a smaller union, is one of the industry's oldest, being formed in 1890. The pro-amalgamation issue has sparked wide publicity, with strong opposition coming from the Victorian branch of the Australasian Society of Engineers. But Jim Bridge from the Newcastle branch of the ASE says the amalgamation will inevitably benefit both unions.
It's in the national interest for unions to amalgamate, and traditionally that the unions that look after the blue-collar workers, they're basically all losing members, and I feel that if unions don't amalgamate in this day and age, well, eventually they won't exist.
Hello, I'm Mark Warren. A delegation of Japanese businessmen has been in the region this week assessing the export potential of Hunter Valley wines to Japan. If the deal comes off, it could mean a multi-million-dollar boost to the local wine industry.
Join Ray Deneen and Anna Manzoni for all the news tonight at 6.
Few road developments have been watched as closely as the building of the Hexham Bridge. When it is finished, the bridge should clear the bottleneck that has plagued commuters and holidaymakers for years. Including approach roads, the project will cost $14 million. Construction began in March 1983, the bridge being built in a series of 20 concrete sections, each one cast in place. At this stage, only 9 sections have been completed. The DMR originally intended to have the bridge built by July last year, but the contractor EPT says the timescale was never realistic. Work has been sped up, however, and the bridge and the approaches are expected to be completed by early in the new year, a year and a half behind schedule. The northbound approach lanes are nearing completion, and a new section was opened to traffic today. Work will soon begin on the most difficult sections of the bridge overpassing the New England Highway. Because of the confined space and heavy traffic, motorists are warned that they can expect long delays.
Swimmers will compete in the New South Wales team at the National Special Olympics being held in Tasmania in November this year. These are the 8 team members from the Hunter Valley. Today they went through their paces at the Junction Pool under the guidance of coaches Leon Burwood and Dorothy Crouch. The Special Olympics offer sporting competition for people with an IQ below 75. This group ranges in age from 11 to 33. They train once a week, and most have been swimming with the squad since it began 6 years ago. Most of these swimmers will also compete in the Athletics and Soccer State Carnival being held at the Narrabeen Sports Centre in Sydney at the weekend, sports that will also be included in the November National Olympics. A major plus when training this squad, say the coaches, is the enthusiasm of the team members. A problem, however, is funding. The Hunter Valley squad is trying to raise $6,000 towards the cost of the Tasmanian trip and is appealing to the public for support. The Childcare Centre opened in 1983, demand for its services has increased to where there are now 150 children on a waiting list. The centre caters for the children of university and college staff and students, as well as the general public. It's currently licensed to take in 25 children each day. Access to childcare facilities is an important consideration for many students, according to Jenny Lang of the Childcare Management Committee.
The main reasons that we have for students withdrawing are predominantly financial reasons. However, an increasing number of mature-age students are stating that they're dropping out because they can't find adequate childcare facilities.
The introduction of college-based training for nurses has greatly increased the demand for childcare within the college. By next year, 800 students will be enrolled in the nursing diploma. This is a course which attracts a high number of mature-aged female students who have the greatest need for childcare facilities. To cope with the increased demand, a submission has been made to the Department of Community Services to expand the childcare facility.
Well, we hope to double the size of this centre. At the moment we only provide places for 25 children. However, if our centre is enlarged, it will be able to cater for an additional 25 children, and therefore we will also get additional staffing and additional accommodation as well.
The submission initially asks for a capital grant of $146,000 to extend the premises. If that's approved, as the Management Committee expects, a grant for equipment and furnishing should follow. Staffing and other day-to-day costs are now $100,000 each year. This figure will double if the expansion takes place. The Management Committee expects a decision on the submission by the end of this year, with building to commence in early 1987. However, changes to the legislation concerning the operation of childcare centres is being mooted. This new legislation will require more qualified staff and more facilities per child, effectively reducing the gains expected through the current submission.
Well, it will mean that instead of getting 50 places, we will get the space for 50 places as the current legislation stands, but really if that legislation does go through, we will end up with a centre that provides for, say, 40 children rather than 50 children.
20-year-old Judith Merritt from Rutherford, her sister Jenny Merida, aged 21, Craig Johns, 23, and 28-year-old William Sumner, all from Curry, appeared briefly before Magistrate Dennis Cullen. The four, all unemployed, are charged with murder and conspiracy to murder Stephen Merritt at his Rutherford home on Saturday night. It's alleged Merritt died from a gunshot wound to the chest, fired at close range from a .30 calibre sawn-off rifle. His spinal cord was severed by the bullet. When they appeared in court today, Johns and Sumner were handcuffed, and both women, Merritt and Merida, were visibly distressed. Johns also had a cut to the upper lip, which police allege was caused by the recoil of the murder weapon. The court was told the four had conspired since May to murder Merritt, and Johns was to be paid the sum of $10,000 to carry out the killing. Police will allege Johns went to Merritt's home on Saturday night and shot him, then was driven from the scene by Merritt's wife. Later, he's alleged to have buried the rifle in nearby bushland. Magistrate Dennis Cullen refused bail because of the serious and premeditated nature of the killing. Both women, whose young children remain with relatives, have been taken to Sydney's Silverwater Jail, while Johns and Sumner will remain in custody at Maitland Jail. The four will reappear in Maitland Court next Monday.